Welcome back to the Mind Goals podcast, hosted by yours truly, Siobhan Higgins, sport and performance psychology consultant, professional soccer player, yoga instructor, and soccer coach. The Mind Goals podcast is a space that I hold for myself, other athletes, and other athletic personnel so that we can converse and discuss how we acquired the mindset that we have today, all with the goal in mind that any listeners or viewers can overall improve their mindset as well. Today, I'm so excited to invite a special guest, one of my former classmates from my master's program in sport and performance psychology, Reeja Awan.
Yay! I'm
Welcome.
so excited to be here.
I'm so excited we can make this happen.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
The way we do start the show is by getting to know you. And I do know you as a classmate, but I guess I don't actually know where you're from or what led you to St. Thomas. And for listeners, we both went to the University of St. Thomas, which is in Houston, Texas. It's a small private Catholic school, and that is where our worlds collided. But you were in the dual program, right? Where you got your bachelor's and master's in like 5 years?
It was 5 years, yeah.
Okay, cool. I did my undergrad 4 years and then like left St. Thomas and then came back and did the condensed program.
Yeah. And I remember I like met you the first day. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, because I had heard like you had played soccer there, and I was like, oh my God, get to meet someone who formerly was an athlete here. So it's kind of cool. I actually went to a really small high school, and how I ended up landing on St. Thomas was kind of silly. I never stepped foot on it until my first day of orientation.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's crazy.
It is. It's like everyone's college stories. Like I be like on TikTok, and like it's the most trending thing is like people show you their college story. Mine is nothing like that. Never stepped foot on campus. It's kind of funny. I'm very happy I landed there now.
Yeah.
But in that moment I had chosen the university because I was like, I don't want to end up at a big institution and get lost in the crowd. And
Fair.
My parents were like very encouraging about like where I was applying, but there were all these large institutions like UT and like Rice. And I was really lucky and blessed to get like accepted to them. But I just was like, okay, I don't really feel like I still belong. And I didn't go to those campuses to visit either. I had heard so much about them. And then one of my mentors, she was pre-med and she was at UST. Okay. And she was like, I don't know, I just feel like you would love it here. Like there's something here that you would love. And I literally the week the application was due submitted it, got accepted 2 days later.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, Mom, I'm going here. My mom was like, Are you sure you want to go there? And I was like, yeah, it's like in Houston. I can commute. Like I grew up in Sugar Land. It was like a 35-minute drive. I was like, why not? Let's just do it.
Wow.
Ended up there and I was like, okay, this is cool. Showed up to orientation and I was like, amazing. I love it here. I was pre-med when I went in.
Wow.
Was a psych major.
Okay.
I came in with my associate's degree, so I didn't have to take any of the first level classes. My first 2 years there, my professors were like, you really like this? But they were like, you're a people person. This is not people related, what you're doing right now. And it's going to eventually get there when you get through med school. But they were like, you are a certified yapper. You need to go do a profession that a certified yapper will do.
Yeah.
So I ended up dropping pre-med, kept psych, and I opened up another major, which was comm.
Okay.
And I loved having both of those things. And I was super blessed that I got to meet Dr. Waite my freshman year. I took personalities of psych with her. And I luckily got blessed enough to take her every single semester.
Oh my gosh.
To the point where when she was opening up our program, she was like, oh my God, you love sports, you love media, like you love psych. I think you should apply for this program.
Yeah.
And I was so encouraged to do it because I played sports throughout high school and I didn't really get that chance to like carry them on into college because that's not something I was looking to do.
Yeah.
I fostered that energy into leadership and that's where I carried it on. But when I got the opportunity to apply into our program, I was like, I'm going to do this. Like it was so new. It was a breath of fresh air. And I felt like it was an area where you could help people that a lot of people don't think about. And I was like, oh my God. And I got to meet like cool people like you and like learn you guys' experiences. And those are the kind of things that like motivate me to do what I do now. So I love it.
Which is awesome. Wait, that's a very cool story. I love like, because I mean, it's true. St. Thomas, when people hear about it, it's not, I mean, I feel like it's growing and has grown, but people didn't know that it was in Houston. I'm like, yeah, you'd probably drive by it once a week because it's just if you're not looking, you miss it. But it's a beautiful campus, first of all. The curriculum is great. I mean, I went there twice, so I've got 2 degrees from there.
Just like came back.
I know, I did come back. And then I did work there a little bit too, doing like some student workers, and you currently work there as well. So my next question, I guess, to you is, what is your current position and how do you, serve students at St. Thomas?
So this is my second year working. I started off in admissions and I was their visit experience specialist. So I did a lot of, kind of the idea of it was that I planned all their recruitment events, and then I got to teach students how to give tours and showcase this amazing campus. And you're right, people drive past it all the time.
Yeah.
And now what I get to do is actually, I use our performance degree in a new way.
Okay.
I work with first generational students in Rising Stars. I'm their program coordinator, and our program is for first generational students to get them through the institution and help them reach their goals of actually getting their degrees at the end of the day. It's a population that a lot of people overlook, and the transition for them is just as hard as it is for student athletes and other populations on campus. And it's truly amazing to see what you can do with the things that we've learned with that population. So I love what I do.
That's awesome. I love that. Again, I mean, when we talk about our degree, it's a master's of applied sport and performance. So you don't have to be an athlete. This is anyone who performs or has some sort, or they just want to improve their performance as well. So super applicable and very transferable. And I was going to ask, well, I know this, but for people to know, Reeja is a leader. She said certified yapper, but what she meant is a great leader that is not shy about speaking in public or, sitting on panels. And so I was going to ask you also, you were Mrs. UST once? Okay, so this is our second queen on the show. We had Cameron Spell on previously. Reeja, did you pass on the crown to her?
No, so I was actually Miss UST in 2022.
Very cool. Well, a small mini round of applause because that's awesome. It's for people, again, who don't know, it is like a campus or like institutional recognition of somebody who embodies the student that is ideal for a UST student. And Reeja is a leader. She's involved in various activities, or was as a student. And so just wanted to learn a little bit more about what activities were you involved in, why did you choose them, and hopefully people will learn like the leadership qualities that brought out of you and also built in you.
So it's kind of crazy. So I went from being an athlete in high school to not having that. And when you have been an athlete since you were in elementary school to high school, and then you get into college and you don't have that one area taking up that time, you really don't know what to do. So I walked into St. Thomas, and the way that they do orientation is that you get put under 2 orientation leaders, and they were these 2 older classmen that I met first day on campus, and they were basically there for the next 3 days that I was going to be at orientation, and they were very inspiring people.
Cool.
To the point where they were like, yes, they embodied the values of the institution, but also they were like, we also have aspirations out of this, and this institution is kind of helping me get there. And I sat there and I was like, this is cool. What is this? How do I do this? And it was cool enough that the week after we started school and I learned my schedule, they invited me to student activities, which is the office where all the activities run from. And I was like, oh, this is where all of y'all work during the school year.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was cool. And I walked in there and I was like, okay, like they have all these set organizations. And I think that I wouldn't be at the point that I'm at now and have the background that I have now if I hadn't stepped foot in that office. So
yeah,
I learned to plan. Actually, my first year, I started off in a baby position and I became an orientation leader. Loved it so much. For the next 3 years after that, I became a vice chair of orientation, which is the person who plans all of orientation for students that are coming in.
Oh my gosh.
And I loved it. I loved every summer I would go spend that time that I got to live as a student and plan it for other students that were coming in. And I was like, oh my God, like this is so amazing. Like, this is so cool. Like, I'm getting to create this experience for other people and at the same time inspiring them to maybe become this one day.
Yeah.
As I was doing that, I also wanted to have something in the school year. So I was more of a planner and organizer than I was an event planner at that point of time. Okay. I got to do event planning more in the summer, but we have registered student organizations on campus, which are the people that run all 40 something clubs.
Yeah.
I became that person. I was in charge of all these clubs with my team. And it was really cool because we would get a set budget and we would be the people that would like allocate funds to these clubs and be like, you should plan this and you should do that. Or like get to develop leadership training for them. So those two things were really cool. And then when I started to enter in the interest of sports, the other positions I took on were in the JAC, which is the gym at our school. And I got to be the associate director of programs, which is then I got to work under really cool advisors there and plan the student athlete banquet. I got to plan little pop-ups that would happen at the gym. And then I got to manage teams there. And I was like, this is cool. So those like experiences kind of helped me develop into the person that I was. But it also helped when we were in class for our masters because I got to use the first 4 years of experience to be like, oh, like these are all the different things that I learned in leadership training, but I can apply these to all the things that we're learning now.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, and that's awesome because I wonder, or a question for you, but question for a lot of people is, do you think you can teach somebody to be a leader, or do you think a leader is just born a leader?
And it's kind of funny that you bring this up because I think in one of our first classes, that was a conversation that we had.
Yeah.
In like, it was kind of like a debate almost because it was like 50-50. In my experience, I feel like you can teach someone to be a leader. I think it's more dependent on the openness a person has. I think there are different types of leaders. And
for sure,
the cool thing about leadership is it's honed and followed in so many different ways. I'm an extrovert, but some of the people that I've looked up to my whole life have been very introverted, hands-off leaders. I am the opposite of that. I'm an extrovert, hands-on. Like, same. I want to be there. I want to be involved in your team.
Yeah.
I want to know how you're feeling about this. And then like the bosses I've had, they've been like very like strong, but like kind of reserved. And they're like, you got it. And it's like, you believe in me? You think I can do this? And it's crazy. The confidence and the ability that they build in you without you knowing. It's a magical thing. So I definitely think you can build leaders through different experiences.
Yeah. I think another question that we had, it wasn't about building a leader, but it was like teaching someone to be resilient. And I was like, I mean, I guess you can. Like, yes, life experiences will provide that for you, but you can also teach like how to adapt to things. You can teach like skill sets. So yes, you can teach resiliency is what I would argue, but it's definitely like pretty difficult if you haven't had these life experiences that, you know, cause you to pivot, to think differently, to change course like drastically, or like just life events that happen that truly build resiliency.
No,
right?
I definitely agree with you. I also think it's the people you surround yourself with is a big one, because I feel like that skills, particularly when it comes to that, I think that if you're around the same people and they're not pushing you and you're not being challenged, it's hard. Like something that I learned from actually Coach Medina that coaches basketball at UST, he used to always say to me, he's like, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Yeah. And if you're the only person that also cares in that room, you're still in the wrong room.
Yes.
And I think with that trait specifically, like if you're around people and they're not pushing you and they're not challenging you and they're not questioning you, you're not going to build that skill set.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that's why, I mean, I've heard that too. And I think it's funny because as an athlete, or like in my, on my teams, it's like if you're the best person on the field, you know, maybe you've exhausted your time there. Or if it's like if you are not the best person, like say you're like at the bottom, you kind of actually want to be there and you don't want to leave because you will learn so much from the people around you. But yeah, I think that's funny. And it's super like applicable with different leadership styles as well. And just like skill sets and qualities and characteristics that you gain from college and gain from sitting at a table with people that are not like powerful, but yes, powerful people that are motivated, people that are inspired, the doers. And you need different types of leaders and different type of people at those tables. And I've, come to learn that too.
I agree to that. But it's like, it's crazy. I think the one thing that you said right now is like, you see that now. And I think like freshman year me would have never seen that, because I think that's the growth that you see as you mature as a person or in your sport as you're going through it. Because you sitting there as a freshman being benched, or like, why am I not playing? I came here to play. Like, and you're like sitting there, you're like, but I was the best when I played in high school, and I'm here now. And it's like, or it could be in leadership where it's like, I'm starting off as an intern. Like I applied for this other position. And it's like, why am I like And it's like later on in life, you sit there and you look back and you're like, if I hadn't started where I started, I would not have the level of respect for what I do now.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would say like I did learn a lot of that from the experience, right? Like at a point in time, I joined a team and I was like, why am I not starting? And then that was like a new challenge for me. And then like for a moment I fought that and I was like, should I be on this team? Like, should I leave? You know, everyone kind of has those thoughts. But you can always gain something from that as well. Like from being benched, from sitting back, from starting lower, from being an intern. And it's kind of hard to see in the moment, but whenever, again, it's going to sound corny, but whenever you're uncomfortable, like that is when you're growing and that's when you're going to learn the most. And it's hard to see in the moment. I know it. But if to anyone listening, if you're feeling that way, know that like something bigger is coming.
Yeah, it's the truth. Uncomfortability like gets you the furthest in life, because if you're comfortable, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Or if you're comfortable, like you're not, like you're just stagnant, right? Yeah. There's no growth, but maybe you're also not getting worse, but you know, it's comfortable.
And that's the thing. I think that I've learned in my experience, like there's been points of time as a person individually, like I feel stuck sometimes and I'm like, but everything's fine. And I'm like, maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe everything's not supposed to be fine.
You're like, maybe I need to set a new goal, meet new people, go somewhere new, join an event, like add a new hobby.
I mean, life isn't lifing until there's a little bit of chaos in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the weird thing about it. And I learned to respect that in college when it's like I was like event after event after event, or it was like this is happening, or this person's seizing and we have this going on, but I also have a test and I have to go do this and like I'm working, but it's like there was always something rolling and you'd be like, this is good. This is change.
Yeah, it's good and it keeps the momentum, because then you're like motivated to do, as long as you're not like overloading what you have, because that's when we're like, great. And that's when I would stall and be like, I'm not doing anything right now. And then you get behind, you're like, oh crap, now it's like a cycle.
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
No, I have like 50 gazillion things to do all of a sudden. Yeah.
It's all about balance.
Yeah.
Is what we've come to learn. Yeah. So Reeja and I both got our masters in sport and performance psychology. So we wanted to kind of talk about it, because people will ask, like, I do something different, you do something different. And anyone who kind of gets this degree or something similar are maybe doing things similar. Like maybe they're just a coach and they want to like improve their relationships with their athletes, or maybe they're consulting with athletes, or maybe they want to work in an organization and help the leaders there. But I wanted to kind of open conversation. You and I bounce ideas off of each other, but kind of about like, I guess the nitty gritty of it and things that we learned and didn't learn. And I guess anyone who's like kind of interested in this field, they could get a little bit of insight from both of us, because we both kind of did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's weird, because you're right. Like everyone goes into this program with different goals. And like, I'm kind of actually curious. I went into it with wanting to be eventually, like that's still my goal now in the future, is to be a director of athletics.
Okay.
So like cool. My goal was to like gain all this insight on how I can better the environment of these students and how I can use what I've learned with everything that we have to give this environment to people. So I was kind of curious. I was like, what was your goal like going into it, and like how did you want to end off? Like
well, first of all, yours is really cool and I do want to continue talking about that, but I will say what mine was. We can kind of go back and forth. Mine was to consult with athletes. I learned that like as an athlete, I think middle college and after, I struggled a little bit more on the mental side, just because things changed and I just wasn't mentally prepared for it. Like I ended up learning, adapting. But again, I've spoken about this before, and then with other sports like consultants and advisors, like there wasn't really that resource, or if it was very scarce. And so now people in our industry, it's growing. And like, you know, now whole organizations, schools, teams will have somebody like us on staff. And it's like, great, I wish I had that person, and we didn't have it. And so for me, I just wanted to give back and like be able to talk to athletes, not as like a counselor, but as like a mental performance coach, which is the ultimate goal. So my next step is becoming like actually certified, taking my exam, submitting all the hours that I've already done. So I'm like super close to getting that certification. But as of right now, yeah, I guess I'm living it out. I'm consulting with athletes, which is what I wanted to do. Yeah. But yeah, that was my goal.
I think it's so cool. I like still, whenever I hear people talk about what they want to do with what we did, I'm like, everyone's on their own path, but there's so much to do with it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And I think yours is awesome too. And it makes the most sense as well because of all, again, for me, it's like my experiences led me to want to do this. But again, your experiences and your, the previous things that you've done for work, like that's like, you could create a really great program.
And like, that was the thing, like when the opportunity was brought to me to apply to this program, I knew kind of an idea of what it meant to be a performance coach. And I loved it because Dr. Wade had talked about it so much in the years of me knowing her.
Okay.
So it gave me a good background, but it's also like, you're right. Like, this is a field that's growing and a lot of people don't actually know what that means. When you say performance to someone, it could mean so many different things. And it could also mean nothing to somebody when they hear it. They're like, what are you actually here to provide and do for us? As someone who's coming in to either an individual session, a team, or is just coming in to actually help better overall anything that's going on with anyone. So it's like, it was a lot taking it in and learning what the program was. And once I learned it, I was like, oh my God, like I've always wanted to work in an institution. That was my end goal. The reason why I kept up with psych was it was either going to end up being industrial organizational psychology in some way, or actually working with students one-on-one. And it's because for me, the thing about it was students as a population are people that are going through so many changes all at once.
Yes.
And then I learned and worked with student athletes and it was like, oh my God, you're a completely forgotten population sometimes of people that are going through so many changes. Not only, I remember I did this presentation, it was on like the trifecta, I called it. You're a student, you have a social life, and you're an athlete. Like, sometimes it's very hard to balance this triangle of things that you have and you have no one to talk to about it.
Yes.
And it was like crazy because we got to sit through a program that explained why they were going through all these things.
Yeah.
And us as consultants, we were sitting there and we're like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Like why this is happening.
Yeah.
And then getting all the tools into a toolkit and graduating with it was amazing. But then having the toolkit and walking into places and knowing how to implement the toolkit was the part that I think was probably the most challenging for me personally.
Okay.
Especially because I feel like you're right. Like we learned so much and so many amazing things, but also our degree comes with stigmas, I want to say. And the stigmas, sometimes they're very positive. Like you meet coaching staffs that are like, yes, please tell me exactly what you think I should be implementing and how we can help these athletes. But then you also meet coaching staffs that are like, what exactly are we going to be doing? Like, what do you mean that we need to implement these things? And you're like, well, from my observations, like in my experiences, I feel like you don't have to, but I highly encourage you to like implement these things. And it can go both ways.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought it's funny because I thought you were going to say there's either a coach that's totally on board or there's a coach that's like, we've been doing it the hard way. We've already know how to do it. Like, you know, it's kind of like it's a backwards mentality. And great. If you learned in your 40 years of coaching and being an athlete and you grinded through that, amazing. But why wouldn't you want to like condense that into a packet or like a talk or like a weekly session or, you know, just give back instead of like using in each like actual training? Because it's hard when you're a coach and maybe say you're a coach and you are a CMPC, like you have those two things which are great, but it's actually very difficult to like implement them and integrate it at the same time. So I do think that it's nice to have like a separation, like bring somebody else in or kind of like separate one talk into like a team meeting or like one training is for team culture, one training is maybe we do one-on-ones and it's just like individual meetings. But it can be used in various ways and people just don't know it.
It's crazy. Like, and that's some of the conversations that I've learned to have now that have been really helpful. And I'm grateful for the community that we get to meet and the other athletes and coaches that I've gotten to meet in this time period. Coaches are seen as authoritarians. So when they come in and they're trying to have this heart to heart with their team doesn't see that. And I feel like when you bring in someone on the outside like us, they're like, okay, like this is a new person. They're here to help out. They're not going to yell at me if I tell them I'm struggling. Yeah. But they might also help me understand why I'm struggling so badly. Yes. But for us to get to that point was the thing that I personally struggled with the most working with teams. I think personally when we got our degree, we learned all the information and how to apply it, but nobody told me the stigmas it came with when you go and walk up to a team and you join a team, and the things that it had with it. And it was a lot of like building that connection with those athletes. One of my first teams that I worked with, 45 guys, and amazing sport, amazing guys, amazing coaching staff. Learned a lot from them. But walking up and starting with them, their idea was that, oh my God, this girl joined the team. She's our manager and consultant, as she's been introduced. So she's here to pick out our kits and post on social media and travel with us and make sure that we're okay. And I'm like, yes, but I'm also here to help improve your performance, help mentally, and also bond y'all as a team. Like, there was a lot of issues that the team's captains had brought up about like freshmen actually getting integrated into the team. And we had learned so many exercises in our master's program where I was like, these are really easy things to do with a group of guys.
Yeah.
But nobody told me how hard it would be to get them to all agree to do those things.
And like be on board about it. Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's like petrifying. Like you're standing there and you're like, I know how to do this. And I know I have a degree in this. And I've practiced this. But you go up there and you have like these freshman college guys and you're standing there and you're like, I am 23 years old. I should not be scared of an 18-year-old guy. But it's like at the same time, you're like, but also this is your sport. So I understand where you're coming from. But also like, I'm here to help you. So please take my hand.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing for me. Like, I think learning and honing your way of actually consulting, everyone has their own style.
Yes.
And that was something that we had talked about. But I guess when you're learning it, you don't know your style until you're doing it.
Exactly.
And for me, I learned that I was like, I can't change who I am. I am a yapper. I am a connector. Like, I am this person. So for me, I learned that to get them all in a group sense, I had to make individual connections with them as people first and learn how they were as athletes. And it was crazy once I learned how to do that. And I had these one-on-one conversations. Anytime I had a group activity, everyone was there.
That's awesome.
Like 5 minutes early. And they were like, what are we doing today? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh my God, like it got me excited to be at practices, to be at games and travel with these group of guys because they were as excited to do these things together as I was to present it to them.
So you would say the key to that was developing those one-on-one individual relationships. Yeah, because I mean, when you come onto a team with so many people, it's hard to, the first thing is build trust. And then they need to know who you are and they need to just kind of like stand behind what you do. And if you don't have the trust, it takes a while to build, which is possible to build. But it's very difficult. It creates a barrier. And then if you don't have people that are bought in, then they're just going to, look around and say, when's time up? Like when are we going to go practice and finish doing this thing? And then if you don't have like the coaching staff as well brought on board and the leaders there, then the relationship just doesn't help. I mean, I've run into, or maybe I've not run into barriers like this, but I've heard them from other people, other colleagues, is that we've got a team on board, but the coaches sign them up. Right. So then the coaches are on, they're like, yes, I want this. Our team needs this. We're struggling here. And you're like, okay, got it. Let's do this activity. Let's have this discussion. And then the athletes are kind of like not all bought in. And so then you're like, okay, great. Well, what do we do here? And it's like, this isn't an exam that we take. We're not like, what do you do in this situation? And I'm like, what do I do in this situation? And we have to improvise and we have to learn, and it's trial and error.
And it's crazy because it's like, I think one-on-one individual, you brought up trust. When you're sitting in an individual session, that person is choosing to be there even if you were the one who initiated that conversation. But when you're sitting with like a group, it's kind of like one person might be on board, but then you might have 10 people that are like, I don't really want to be here. Like, I don't know how this is helping me. And that individual trust that you have is great. Those sessions go a long way. They learn that you're also a person. And they realize that you're sitting there. In a group setting, it's like you come in and the coach has bought in, the captains have bought in, and the rest of the team's like, so what do you do exactly? And like, what does this mean? And that was another thing that I learned. Like, I think going into it, like, even though like the coaching staff or captains or seniors might know like an idea what you do, really breaking down what your degree is to people is another thing. Because it's like you said at the beginning, this is a growing field. This is not a common field, and a lot of people don't know what it means
Let's
when we
break
say
it down.
performance.
Let's break it down right now, because I actually introduce every time and I don't actually tell people what it is. I mean, I guess you can like Google it quickly, but really the position that I do and that you do is like we're a mental performance coach. It's like that's pretty generic because you're teaching people how to perform to their peak using all these skills. And it's like a mental thing. This isn't like this isn't a physical activity you do. I mean, yes, it takes work, but we love in our field to say that in the same way you have to practice and do the repetition for your passes, your shots, you also have to practice and do repetition of these exercises, whether that be anything from teaching people mindfulness, teaching people breath work, teaching people self-talk and how to build their confidence. I'm going to miss some, so you'll have to help me. Teaching people imagery, teaching visualization, helping with team culture. Take it away. I got 6.
No, those were all the ones that I was gonna name too. But the other one that I thought of that was like you said, mindfulness, and I think the other breakdown of it that I've recently been learning a lot is reflection.
Ooh.
Reflection's a really big one that I've learned that sometimes we miss. Like you named all the big ones that we normally talk about when it comes to teams and individual.
Yeah.
Reflection's one of the ones that I learned very late in the game. I feel like near the tail end of our masters.
Okay.
And we say all these things, but like people never look back.
Yes.
On what they've done. And it's like, this is, as much as it's a journey for them, it's a journey for us in the sense that we want to make sure, like, just like in any sports where you're physically seeing your improvement, reflection's a time that you see mentally how you've reflected and grown as a person.
Yes.
And it's like what you're saying, the breakdown of this was perfect. It's like, we're not here to tell you if you're right or wrong. We're here to guide you, to make you feel more comfortable in the sense of like, you are growing as a person, you're growing as an athlete, and these are ways that you can help reduce the other things that are causing issues in your actual performance and how you're going about it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is I always like to say, like, we're like the third point of view. Like, we get to sit back, observe, and then come in and be like, hey, you're looking at it from first person POV with your coach, and you're sitting there and y'all see this.
Yeah.
Us as someone who's not in the situation, who's not on the field with you, who's not running, who's not heated in those moments, are people that are watching it from a third person point of view. And we're telling you, like, hey, for example, I've had athletes that if they don't do, what do you call it, their little 5-minute little traditions that they do before a game, they feel like they're gonna like mess up. And I was like, hey, did you realize that this game you didn't do that and you played the same? Like,
yeah.
And it's like, being that person that gets to be that third person point of view, that is how I look at our master's program. We get to implement all the things that you're not seeing from the first person point of view.
I do love that. That's a great point of view. Because honestly, like that's why I said that I think that there should be a separation. Like if you are the coach, maybe you should not be the CMPC, or like, yes, you can integrate things, but having like that third point of view, having like you hire someone, you tell them like, hey, I want to come out for 3 sessions, and also like 3 sessions you can't make that much progress. So that's another thing we should talk about is like, how long does it take to actually see results? How long does it take? Because you have to build trust. We have to see the behavior. We have to sit and watch. But that is something, might as well get into it. That's something that we were kind of taught. Because I remember, so one of our professors told us, like, during our program, we would go and do field work, and we'll like kind of call it like an internship, like try to get a partnership or try to work directly with a sports team or program and start to like slowly implement the stuff that we're learning. And she was like, well, it's going to take some time. So make sure you're observing, make sure you're writing things down. And honestly, journaling, that's a huge skill. Writing is a huge skill as well. And for me, whenever we first started to go out to, like, say I was working with a track team, it was like, you have to watch how these athletes are. And I would say you probably had an upper hand on this because you got to travel. You got to see them every time. And that's like a CMPC's perfect case scenario. Like, you are with a team, you get to physically observe them. So it's not just like you're hearing things from coach or from player, you're seeing them as well. And I feel like that's perfect case scenario. Like, there's a big guy, I will stop yapping for a second, but there's a big guy in our industry called Owen Eastwood, and I heard him speak I need to give a quick shout out to the HPC, the High Performance Circle. He spoke on one of our Zoom calls, and he spoke about how when he gets integrated into a team or he starts talking with them, he doesn't open his mouth apparently until 3 months later. So he'll get hired to a team, and he's observing, he's watching, because a lot of the things you can tell with behavior, you can listen. To be a fly on the wall is like the perfect period. So coaches, organizational leaders, if you're listening and you're hoping to bring someone on, you're like, quick fix this middle of the season where this is happening, kind of tough. We need to like see, we need context, we need, it's difficult to just do that. But yeah, Owen Eastwood, big man to do it, big name. He says he sits for 3 months, observes, and then he opens his mouth.
And the crazy thing about that is that so I worked with 2 men's teams. Mm-hmm. I worked in basketball and soccer. And in basketball, I had a smaller group of guys to work with. Of course, it was like 20 of them. And it was like similar mindset. I went with it. The first month of preseason, I sat there and I watched.
Which is awesome.
And I learned the player. I learned the rotation that was going to get played, like the A team of the players that got played, because it showed me a lot about like, okay, this A team versus B team versus C team. This is your set of guys that are going to be rotated in and out of this game. Where are they mentally? Because that's also another thing. Like, you also have to look at it from a coaching point of view. And that's something I learned on the field. Like, I learned that if I could learn the players that in basketball, it's like you have 5 guys that go in, and it's like, if one guy's playing the entire game, what toll is that taking on him when everybody else is getting a sub?
Yeah.
So a lot of that for me was like, I sat there and I watched, and exactly what you said, I literally made a spreadsheet.
Yeah, there you go.
And I would
all the
sit
players
there and I would like make notes like, oh, so and so today came in 45 minutes late, looks sleep deprived.
Yeah.
Did not join in stretching, did not talk to his group of guys that he's normally with. Like, wonder what's going on. Made a little notes of that. The other thing that I hosted that was a little different that we didn't talk about much. I would host office hours. So after practice for like 2 hours, I would sit in the lobby of our gym, and the 2 hours were like between my classes. So I would sit there and I would like try to get some work done. But those hours were there for basically for the athlete. If they weren't comfortable coming up to me like after practice right away, go reset and then let's have a conversation if you want to have one. But also it gave the coaching staff some time also where they could be like, hey, did you notice so-and-so was late to practice today? Like, do you have any thoughts on this? Like, can I say something as a coach? I try to create that space. I've also gotten the flip. So when I got hired on for soccer, they were already going to start. So I did not get that preseason experience. What I did have was a lot of resources. So I learned all of the starting 11 and I learned that's what I got hired on for. But I also know that it's not ever just the starting 11. You're going to have the players that get rotated in. You're going to have players that were a part of the starting 11 and they got injured and they're not playing the season, but they're having to sit there and watch.
Yes.
So how can you help those people too? And I think sometimes when coaches bring you in, they bring you in to like fast track recovery and get the team on board and everyone's happy and they're traveling in a good mood. And I'm like, that's not how that works. I know. Unfortunately.
Coaches, you need to be realistic about it. And like, I've worked with coaches who are unrealistic about it. We've seen it. It will continue to happen. And maybe parents too. Like maybe it's not a coach. Maybe it's parents saying, my kid needs help here. Quick, fix it. We have a game this weekend. And it's like, we can only do so much. We can have a conversation. But coaches really need to tap in because it starts with you. Like you are the leader on the team. You are the authoritative figure. And in the end, we all want success, right? We want to win. So if you want to win, we need winning mentalities. We also need everybody to be at a place where they're comfortable performing well, where they're healthy, where they're happy, where they're, your triangle or the trifecta you were talking about, when those are at a stable balance. Because sometimes it's maybe you pick 2 for the week. Honestly, maybe it's just 1 for the week.
You take the little wins. And I always tell athletes that. I was like, and coaches too, I was like, you take the little wins. And the biggest thing about it is we are also on a team. We come in as an individual, but we have athletic trainers that we work with.
Yes.
We work with the coaching staff. We work with the students. We work with the parents. And it's like the reality of it all is everyone can see the signs sometimes. If you're seeing a person that was like really extroverted, very bubbly, outgoing, and they're coming in week after week and it looks like a little piece of them is deteriorating, as a coach, as a parent, as a co-player, like learn the signs and like point it out to them, because sometimes you yourself as the person in it don't see it, and then it's also hard because we're also coming in the point of view where like we're not going to try to point it out to you right away and be like,
Yeah.
hey, you look burnt out. Like that's not
Yeah.
how we're going to start the conversation. When we're like, hey, like what's going on? Like how did you feel about your last game? Or like you didn't play, like how are we doing with that? Like it's kind of starting with those small questions and building it up.
Yeah.
But we're not here to just be like state the obvious and move on. We're here to like get you there with you at your pace.
Yeah.
And then try to help you. And that's also the thing I feel like coaches misunderstand. They expect us to just go up to the person and be like, you played terribly today. Why did you play terribly? Like,
yeah, that's also like not that we're not going to do that.
Like that's not our job. One, we're not here to coach them. We're here to make sure that we understand why they got to that point. And also if they're benched for a reason and you've picked the reason as to why they're benched and you're communicating that to us, how was that communicated to the player?
Yeah.
And how can we come in and help them better understand the fact that there's a lot of factors playing into the fact that you're benched. It's not, maybe you're playing wonderfully,
yeah,
but it is your attitude and the persona that you're carrying yourself with that we need to have a conversation about. Because like I said earlier, individual consulting versus team consulting,
very
it's
different.
night and day. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Very different. Yeah. And again, that takes time to realize that, but I know it now too. And I personally, like, I guess I've been asked, with the group that I joined, it's basically, I'm not in it currently, but it was a group that I found on LinkedIn, and I was telling you about it off air, but I do have to give a shout out. It's called the High Performance Circle. And if you are like a coach, if you are maybe you're getting your master's degree right now in sport and performance psychology, or maybe you're already a psych consultant or something in that industry, there's a group that meets virtually weekly, and there's like a platform, and it's kind of like I described to somebody as like a Facebook for people in our field, and you meet with other professionals globally. There are weekly Zoom calls, either with somebody giving a talk, or there's like office hours where we all talk about our consultations, we talk about our struggle points for the week, and we speak about it in the Zoom and answer and just bounce ideas off each other. So it's like a great network of people. And then there's like a platform where there's like a job posting, so you can put the job board up there. And it's like, again, like those are mostly virtual jobs, I'm pretty sure, because it's a virtual platform, and you can do a lot of things through Zoom, even though I think there's a lot of value in being in person. But yeah, HPC, I think I'm going to have to link my code. I do have like a affiliate code if anyone's interested in joining, or just like, you kind of don't know where to start, or maybe you're looking to grow in the sports psychology industry. It's a great network. You can talk to anybody. I've met so many people. I've gotten more opportunities from it. But I feel like it's a good space, and I joined it because I wanted to continue my education without getting another degree, or without joining a class. And I was like, let's see where this leads me. Definitely have learned a lot. It just, it's like a membership program. So just kind of cooling it down until I get myself rolling again, maybe join back again. But it was a really cool place because it's like, it would be like as if me, you, and other classmates are meeting back up. Yeah, which we need to do.
But I also want to hype that up for a second, like, especially if you have a code. Like,
I do have a code. Yeah,
like,
I don't know what it is, but
my biggest thing about it is like, in the field that we're in, it is so hard to meet people and have conversations about things, and we learn and we build off of the community that we have.
Yes.
And it's crazy, like having a platform just like this that you're saying, like virtual, like having the virtual option, one, flexibility is amazing.
Yep.
But also everyone works in different circles with different groups of people.
Yes.
Age range, gender, like the population that you have, the sport that you have, like how you're going about your sessions. Like we all learn these things from each other, and that was the biggest thing. Like the blessing of being in the master's program that we were in. So we sat in a group and everyone played a different sport, or they were getting this certification or this degree for a completely different reason. Yeah. And having that background conversation, like honestly, it helps so much.
Definitely. Yeah. It was a great network. And that's what I feel like, there's a different like mental performance consultant for everyone. Like someone might love you, someone might hate me, someone might love me, someone might hate you. Like, just the way that we work and like how we approach people, maybe like our sports experience, whatever. But that's why I hope that there are more people like us, which there are. It's a growing field, and just hope to kind of like advocate for it because it's so necessary. There are so many athletes. The sports are only growing. There's so many different like fields that they're going to run into, and like different, like, NIL, they're going to run into like new scholarships. All of those things are tough on an athlete, especially a student athlete. And so I think that every school really, I think every team and school needs them. There's just like lack of funding at a lot of places.
And I think about it is like funding, awareness, also the key factors in of like the capabilities of this job are endless. I feel like it's like what you said, it's ever growing and more people are getting interested in it and all these things. And it's like with me, like I wanted to expand the horizons of being the person that, yes, I was there for your performance, but also if I want to help you with your performance, I need to be invited to all of these things.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you talked about, like kind of like having those coaches and those teams behind you, like us. Yes, we want to be there. We want to be able to help. We want to make a difference. But also, if you aren't aware of everything that this program and this degree is kind of capable of doing, it's very limiting.
Yeah.
So like that awareness and that key point, like, yeah, I agree with you. Like there are schools out there that I think that this should probably start, in my point of view, in my experience, high school. Like you have so many students that are like developing habits that can be broken and cycles that can be broken and helped with from junior, sophomore year, and help progress and push a balance that we talked about kind of forward.
Yeah.
And help other athletes and become advocates in this field to help people in their sport to change.
I honestly think that in the future we're heading towards, like, you know how schools have school counselors? They will also bring somebody else on board that specializes in sports counseling. And maybe it's called sports counseling. And there's two. Because, you know, there's only, like, first of all, there's so many kids. Like, having an entire school is quite a lot. Like, I've actually had athletes reach out to me and say, we actually do have a sports psych consultant, but they deal with all sports. They're too busy. So I wanted to reach out and get somebody individual. And I was like, okay, well, happy to hear that for me, but also not happy for your institution because you actually have the resource. You're not using it because of just, like, limiting factors or...
And it's like, the availability is not there at the end of the day. And it's a lot, like I can also see that, like if you're working at a large institution, being a singular consultant and having like 400 athletes, like
that's just
very limiting. But it's also like, you are also, I always like to point this out, I am also human, you're also human, we also have life, and we also want to make a difference. But it's also like, with what resources do we have to make that difference?
Exactly.
Because we are here to listen and help out and engage, but if you're limiting what we can do, there's only so much that we are capable of doing with the toolbox that we carry with us.
Exactly. And we're so resourceful, and it just, like, I know a lot of people are missing out. I'm like, not to hype ourselves up, but like, seriously, like, athletes need people like us to help them.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like you brought up a great point, like regular counselors versus student athlete counselors. And as someone who did leadership and got to develop student athletes, it is crazy the conversations that are so different that I get to have now versus when I work with student athletes, the conversations and the stresses and the things that are setting off versus a regular student, it's night and day.
Yeah.
It's like those individual and group sessions. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you don't know the population that you're dealing with and the things that they're going through and the balances that they're not being able to keep up with and the conversations that they're not having, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, and it makes you feel bad because at the same time, you got this degree and you're working towards a certification to make a difference, because it has affected us at one point of time too. And it's a part of our journey, which is why we chose to do it. Yep. But it's also, again, you're right. It's like limiting at the same time because, again, how much can you put in?
I know. Exactly. Yeah. We've yapped for so long, actually. I was going to say, the way that I do like to end the show is by asking, or first I give the guests the floor to kind of give advice. Maybe if you want to give somebody a shout out or say some quote or like something you live by that you help somebody listening or watching can gain from. But I specifically want to ask you, Reeja, 2 questions of advice. So what would you tell a student who maybe is considering getting a degree like you and I have? What advice would you give them, and like what, I guess, tips and tricks would you give them? So that's question 1. Question 2 is what advice would you give to a coach, team, or athlete who is seeking a mental performance consultant, and like, how do you think they can benefit from having one?
So for the first one, because you asked about our program, and if someone was trying to get into it, like what's the biggest advice I would give them? I think my big piece of advice for that would be that embody the change. I think that there's going to be areas where you're going to come into this program and you're going to expect it to go one way.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not going to go that way. And it's because it is a developing field.
Yeah.
That is the beauty of it also. But also be prepared that you are going to learn things that haven't even been put out there.
Yes.
And you're helping create those things.
Yeah.
And your experiences aren't always going to be like your peers and your coaches and the people that are advising you or your professors. You might come along things that are completely different, and that's completely okay. How you handle those situations say a lot more about the toolkit that you're carrying with all the resources that you found than anything else. And I promise you the journey is well worth it. So just be patient with yourself.
Love that. What a great answer. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And then question number 2 was, what advice would you give an athlete, coach, or team who's hoping or seeking to hire a mental performance consultant?
I think the biggest thing is be prepared to answer questions. I think the biggest thing is we don't come in there to be accusatory,
right,
or be like, you are wrong for any of those people.
Mm-mm.
I think we come in there to understand the background as to how and why you got to where you got.
Yes.
So we can learn to better implement ourselves. We don't want to be a separate entity from your team. We want to be a person who is a necessity to your team.
Mm-hmm.
We are not a want, we are a need at the end of the day. And that's like how I like to pitch it to these people when they're asking for us,
Mm-hmm.
because we are there not for a personal gain. We're there to make your lives better and also be a part of this amazing journey that you're on, because as much as it's satisfying for you to reach your goals, it is a satisfaction for us to be a part of those and see that. So be prepared to answer those tough questions, but also be willing to have us on this journey with you.
Yeah. Again, amazing answer. Thank you. That was awesome, because it's true. I would say also, like, if I could tack on to the second answer, is for coaches and teams and athletes to just come with bring the ego down a little bit, just break the ego, be vulnerable, and know that, again, we're not here to be accusatory. This is like an outside perspective, right? So this is somebody looking at facts, they're looking at observations, they're looking at patterns, repetition, and we're people who study this. Yeah. So we're coming in, so take what we say with a grain of salt. We're never going to come in and accuse you like, you're doing this, stop doing that, unless that's the way you want us to function. Then sure, if there are extreme things that need to be taken out of, or extreme behaviors or things that are being said that aren't helping, and it's like maybe someone's not reading the room and we're reading the room, okay, that's a different story. But yeah, I think that coaches and players just be open to change. I mean, in the end, we all want the same goal. We want to be a part of it. We want to be integrated into your team, and we want to help you perform at your highest.
And also, we are also open to feedback.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if one solution's not working for you, please communicate that to us.
Yes.
Because I'm sure if we're presenting one plan to you, we can come up with 2 or 3. But if you're sitting there and you're being like, this isn't going to work, like maybe we don't need your services, or I just don't see this going about our way, that's not going to help us make a difference for you. So if you're sitting there and you're like, maybe not this plan, but we can talk through what you have ideas for, we are here to help you and integrate those different things, because also we're learning who you are as people just as much as you're learning who we are as people.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So to any coaches, athletes, be proactive. We need time. Be open.
Give us grace, please.
Give us grace. We're humans as well.
Yeah.
And we know that you're humans. But yeah, at the end of the day, we're there to hold space for you and help you perform at your highest. And it's very possible. And so, yeah, that's why we do what we love.
Yeah, I love it so much. I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
I know, right? Yeah. So thank you so much for joining me. We'll have to actually create a group with our cohort, or people.
I definitely think we should.
I'm sure we could do we could definitely do something. But I will link that affiliate code to whoever is maybe interested in checking it out, following them. But there's a lot of people, big network, if you're looking to connect. With that being said, that's all we have today, unless you have any more quotes or last shout outs.
My biggest thing is just going to be it's a growing process with anything that you do, whether you're in your sport, whether you're a coach. All of us are on the same team. So at the end of the day, we're all here to help each other. It's a blessing to be able to for example, talk about it even on a platform like this and be a part of a podcast, because I met someone that was a part of this program, and it's the same way that you're reaching out to us. We are incredibly grateful to be given those opportunities. So that's my biggest thing. And I'm really grateful that I got to come on here and talk with you guys.
Yeah,
so thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for being open and willing to talk. You have great insight, great answers as well. Seriously. So it was awesome being able to talk about this. I will link Reeja's contact in bio. Our website will be up very soon, so you can connect with her further. If you're interested in Reeja or my services, again, they'll be found at the link in bio. Thank you, everybody, and have a great Thursday.